you cool cats and kittens. It's a Mary's Ponder of the day. I just had lunch with a former colleague. One of only about two, really, who have made any attempts at staying in any kind of meaningful contact and relationship with me. I got lots of Facebook friends, and I'm not dissing anybody. I love y'all, and if we're gonna do friendship light, if we're gonna, I don't care. It's fine. It's good. It's all good. This person made an effort to create something a little more lasting. And they are escaping the matrix, facing retirement. And they really made an effort to want to get together for lunch. And in that lunch date, I was afforded the opportunity to say, hey, there's some stuff that's going to happen when you leave there. And you've heard it for years and years and years, but I want you to understand its impact. I want you to fully grasp its impact. That leaving that kind of career is less like a divorce and more like a death. Because those people are going to be carrying on, and they are not going to stay in touch with you, most likely. And they have been such an integral part of your life, it's going to feel like a death. And also it's going to screw with your identity, because all of a sudden you're not your job anymore. So that felt good to be able to say, hey, look, there's nothing wrong with you. It's not you, it's just the way it works. And I know you've been told in your head, but you're going to have to absorb it in your heart. And not internalize that as some kind of slight, or that somehow you weren't worth sticking around in your life for. So that's number one. Number two, we talked about the after effects of that kind of job. Law enforcement, social work, medical, any kind of public service where you're having day-to-day contact with the public in distress. Think of it like that, because it's all kinds of different. I can't list them all. And I said, over years and years and years and years and years of a career, what can happen? I listen to them, as you know I am wont to do. I asked a lot of questions, and then I say, did it look and feel like this? Yes! And I said, okay, for me, I'm just describing what was mine. I said I came up with a term through many trips down the Google and YouTube rabbit hole. It's called dysthymia, which is high-functioning, long-term, chronic depression. And how it manifests is in feeling flatlined. You can't feel joy or rage or pleasure. I just don't feel anything. It's like a gray veil that has dropped over you. And it turns out comes from perfecting dissociation. So in other words, in my previous iteration, I was in victim services, and I cannot go from call to call and cry on the calls. I can't allow my heart to be fully open and empathetic and joining in to whatever this specific experience is. My job is to help them and guide them through this, not to join them in the horror and misery. So what happens is you learn to disassociate, push it away from you, hold it outside of you, not let it in. And then you develop this public persona, which is one of empathy and loving and caring. You really do care. But it's a mask. And over time, that mask, it's less and less you feeling it and more mask. That's the danger of it. And then you start taking that home with you, then you find that you can't get back to good. And your job will tell you, go get a massage, take a week's vacation. A massage cannot rub that out of me. And number two, a week doesn't begin to touch it. But there is a cure. The cure is so easy. And there are different ways of achieving it. The first time I realized how much I had perfected dissociation, sorry, the sun is popping out a little bit, hurt my eyes, was when I jumped out of an airplane. So my child graduated from college, and I had completed my mission with that child. He left school with a job. And I'm like, okay, good, we're good here. My whole life I've wanted to jump out of a plane, now I'm going to go do it. And I did. And what happened in that, when you roll out of the door of that airplane and you see the underbelly of that plane and your brain is screaming no, and your body is absolutely inundated with adrenaline. It had been so long since I had felt that alive. That fully in, the only way I know how to describe it is in my body. Fully in my body. So I knew it was possible. And that lasted about a week, that high. Of course the adrenaline wears off, but just the feel good of it lasted about a week. And then I slowly eased back into how I had been before. So it took me years to discover there was a word for the way I felt, and also more years beyond that, actually no, months after that, to find the cure, which for me was what's called the Wim Hof method, which is deep breathing and breath holding. It's a series of breathing exercises followed by either a cold water plunge, cold shower, something, a shock, literally a shock to the body, which when I thought about it was exactly what would just go low race car driver, aligned with jumping out of the plane. It was between the breathing and the cold exposure, it causes a chemical change in the chemical soup of your body, and that it releases endorphins and all these different things. But it was interesting, this conversation and thinking about all that I have learned about how to feel good again. How do you feel good? How do you go on vacation and actually enjoy the vacation? How do you interact with your family and feel genuinely feel joy? Or I recently went to a funeral where I felt deep grief. The good kind, when you're saying goodbye and you're feeling all those feelings of how much that person meant to you. And you're feeling it to your core. And you're like, yes. And then to go to the meal afterwards and enjoy all of these people and then feel the joy of being around a bunch of people that you love and care about. Some of whom I had not seen in over 20 years. This good stuff. My ponder of the day is kind of rambling. Sometimes it's good to check in with people from the past and tell you how far you've come. And friends, I've come a long way. So, oftentimes reflection can be counterproductive. But today it was not. Today I was reminded I still have gifts to give. And I have come a long way. And I did the hard work for you so that I could just hand you the present. That's Mary's Ponder of the Day. You are welcome.